As with all stages of grief and loss, support and the ability to express your feelings are important.
I see there are several ways to gain support during the youth's transition to a new home. Our time is running out. Mr. Joyce, would you like to give us some final words on grief and loss?
Yes, I wish to commend foster parents for the difficult task they manage each day, including experiencing grief. As I said earlier, foster care is an ongoing process of grief and loss that impacts foster parents, foster youth, and the child's birth family. The process generally is experienced in stages by all parties. Although there is some predictability in the stages, they are not always sequential in a neat and tidy manner. Neither are they time limited, as it is very possible for a person to get stuck in a stage until the feelings and emotions are worked through, allowing the person to move forward. It is my opinion that knowledge of how grief and loss impact foster parents, birth parents, and foster youth is essential in being able to provide quality care for all parties. And now I'd like to add two final notes. First, a reminder to be aware that after you think you've worked through your grief and it's been resolved, it will come back. You've made progress, but something will trigger it, and you'll experience it again. This is normal. Just know that you can work through it again. Second, I'd like to end the course with this piece of advice. If you lose a foster child you are very attached to, don't be too quick about accepting another child into your home right away. You will be drained, and you should take a break, a breather. Give yourself time to deal with your grief. That's an important part of healthy grieving.
Okay, now we're going to look at some review questions and see how we do with the questions. Grieving in a foster care situation is unique in that one person's loss may be another person's gain. I do believe it. If a child is in a new foster home showing signs of anger, it's a good idea for the foster parents to A, get the child to talk with them about their feelings, give the child some space to deal with their feelings, be critical of the birth parents to help the child justify her anger, provide distraction by planning some family activities right away. I think the training said that we should give them some space to deal with their feelings, especially when they're angry. The stages of grieving include shock and anger, denial and despair, mourning and acceptance, or all of the above. I think they include all of the above. Providing the foster child a supportive setting helps the child move through the stages of grief and loss, allows the child to fit in more quickly, helps the child forget her birth parents, reduces the child's anger. Supporting them helps them move through the stages of grief. Complicated grief is when a person experiences more than one loss at the same time. I think that's false. Complicated grief is the seriousness of the grief that the person's going through. I think it's false. Being placed in a foster home causes grief in children in part because the policies are frequently involved, or the police. Everything is new and different. The children hear their birth parents being threatened, all the above. Probably everything is new and different. Let's go with that and see what happens. Got it right? Number 7, the stages of grief are predictable and sequential. They are sequential, but I don't know if they're predictable. I think they are predictable because it's the normal way that most all humans grieve. So I'm going to go with true. Okay, incorrect. Although there is some predictability in the stages of the grieving process, they are not always sequential in a neat and tidy manner. Neither are they time limited, and it is very possible for a person to get stuck in a stage until the feelings of emotions are worked through, allowing the person to move forward. So that one there was false. Now we got it correct. Guilt over a placement ending may be felt by foster parents, is the last stage of hanging on to a foster youth, is a normal emotion, all of the above. I'd say all of the above. Correct. A good way for foster parents to deal with the grief and loss of a foster child leaving their home is for them to take in another foster child as soon as possible. That's false. If the more serious the grieving process is with the loss of a foster child, you should wait longer. The denial stage of grief can be useful for a birth parent. That's true, because that sets the stage for them to realize and come to conclusion, and then to accept, and then to move on with hopefully constructive work in their parenting skills. Number 10, expressions of grief and loss are generally the same in all children. False. Normal or natural grieving passes quickly, has 2 stages, affects everyone in the same way, helps people come to terms with their loss. It helps them to come to terms with their loss. A good way to welcome a child into a new foster home is to replace the child's old clothes and other possessions with new ones to symbolize the break from the past and new beginning. I'd say that's false. The grief that birth parents experience is usually treated by their caseworker, not really justified, often overlooked, usually clouded by addiction. Usually often overlooked. So we got to realize they go through that grieving process. And when they get to acceptance, then they can be constructively trying to improve their parenting skills. The reactions of infants and toddlers of being removed from their home environment often include looking stunned, acting weepy, sad and fussy, having trouble sleeping and eating, or all of the above. All of the above. When birth parents experience complicated grief, it can cause them to turn to the foster parents for help, withdraw from the foster care system, withdraw from their children, seek immediate professional help. They actually withdraw from the foster oh, I'm wrong. It says the birth parents can become hostile and uncooperative to helping efforts by foster parents. It is very painful for the birth parents to have to feel their children's anger. It's very painful for them to see other people's taking over their role as parents. The pain of their loss becomes overwhelming, and the grieving birth parents can withdraw from contacting their children and can move into abandonment. So, they can withdraw from their children is correct. Mourning can be healthy because it motivates foster parents to think about the care they have provided. Mourning. Yes, I'm going to say true. Children under the age of 5 are more resilient than older children, don't usually notice changes in schedules, objects, and smells, rely more on their environment for stability than other children, seldom show signs of grief. They rely more on their environment. Normal grieving should not be physically and emotionally demanding. It's false, it is. It's physical and emotionally. The paradox of being a secondary parent means a loving foster parent also feels grief and loss. Foster parents' feelings aren't temporary. It is difficult to turn off caregiving when the child is reunited with his birth parents. I'd say this is all of the above. Okay. Thank you very much.